All right. The first drawing assignment in our cartooning lesson is going to be to create a series of 10 original cartoon characters. And we're going to use the same steps that we did for full faces and profiles and 3/4 and caricatures to create these new characters. So the first thing that we did when we drew faces was we started with egg shapes. And there were eggs for full faces, there were 2 eggs for profiles, and there was an egg with a little bit for 3/4 faces. But those are all human faces. Your cartoon characters do not have to be all human, as we saw in the examples. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create a series of 10 shapes. And they're going to be different shapes that you can use for your cartooning. So the first one I'm going to draw is going to be an egg shape, because I'm going to make a cartoon full face. So I can definitely start with that. The next one I'm going to try, and I'm assembly lining these things, is just going to be a circle. I want to see what I can do with that one. And I want to draw a dog one eventually. So I'm going to set up kind of a little teardrop shape to see what I can do with that. So that's 3 of them. I'm going to also try a series of forms. So not a square, but I'm going to set up kind of a rounded square that's going to have a dimension to it, perspective. I'm using perspective to create the side of this face, more of a cube kind of shape. I'm going to set up one that is kind of a natural kind of gourd or pear shape. And I'm going to set up one that's a donut with a hole in the middle. Why? Because I want to see what I can make. I have no idea what these characters are going to look like, and that's okay. So you would continue on with another set of 4 more shapes to create a total of 10. Now after you have your shapes, then it's going to be a matter of face lines, just like we did for our faces that we drew when we made them up. So I'm going to make this one just a full face, so a center line down the middle. I'm going to put the eye line way up top. I'm going to put the nose line and the mouth line way at the bottom. This is one of the first steps in cartooning, making things different than what our standard faces were. Just by moving features around. Even if I draw them fairly normal, I will have a cartoon character. So I'm setting up these like this. You can set up your face lines where you would like them. On my circle, I'm going to make it a 3/4 face. And I'm going to keep the measurements pretty standard. It's already a strange shape, so I don't need to go too strange with the face lines. So halfway for this, halfway for the nose, slightly higher than halfway for the mouth. For my doggy, he is set up kind of as 3/4, so I'm going to set up a center line right here. I'm going to set up an eye line here. I'm going to be putting my nose sticking out, so I don't need a nose line. And my mouth, I'm just going to add that later, because I'm just going to have it hanging out down on the bottom. So all I needed was a center line and an eye line for my doggy. On my cube, again, it's kind of a 3/4 facing that way, just based on the shape. So I'm going to set up center line here. I'm going to put the eye line kind of low, nose line high, mouth line low. Again, different than what we used to do it. Now for this gourd shape, I'm going to keep them a full face. So center line down the middle. I think I'm going to put the eyes in this little top section, but the nose and mouth in this bottom section. just to see how it'll come out. It would be easy to make this whole of the donut into the mouth. Just put some eyes at the top. But I think I'm going to try something a little different. I'm going to visualize how this thing would curve if it was a true donut. I think I'm going to put his face over here on the side so that the hole is actually the side of his head. I would probably need this thing to be more of an ellipse to do that though, so I'm going to adjust the shape. Just like we did with made up faces, you are allowed to adjust your shape as you go. So you can create the face that you want aesthetically. So I'm going to have my center line here. I'm going to put my eye line, my nose line, my mouth line, just off on the side right here. So I have 6 shapes. And I have 6 sets of face lines. Again, your goal is to do 10. They should all be on one page. I'm drawing mine kind of big because I need the camera to be able to see it well. But you're setting this up all on one page of your sketchbook. And 10 of them all together would fit about, what size is this? On an 11 by 12, 11 by 14 sketchbook, each of your faces would be about 3 inches tall. Mine are a little bit bigger than that, but some are a little bit smaller. So about 3 inches, and you set them up all on one page of your sketchbook, because you're going to take a picture of this whole page of characters, and you're going to turn that into that first cartooning assignment. So now that I have my shapes and my face lines, my next step, just like I did in made up faces, was to start features. So I'm going to start with eyes. On this one, I'm just going to draw some standard human eyes, but I'm going to not worry about the whole half rule for measurements. I'm just going to draw them in, and just like previously, I'm going to erase my measuring lines as I go. Which is why you want to draw very lightly. Remember, ghost marks do take away from your grade. Now, one thing about cartoons that people think is that cartoons should be more simple than realistic drawings. That is not exactly the case, as we saw in some of the cartoons that we looked at in the lesson. So I am going to put all the details that I normally do in a face on this one. I'm going to leave him a guy, so I'm not going to put eyelashes on him. I am going to set up some shines and a little bit of shading inside the irises, though, because again, more detail is actually better in some cases. I'm going to set up my iris on this side, and I am going to put some eyebrows. Now, one fun thing about cartoons is that they do not have to logically make sense. So, my eyebrows are actually going to float on top of the head a little bit. They're not going to actually be on the face. They can do that. SpongeBob's shirt sleeves don't actually connect to his shirt. A lot of times, eyebrows on characters go in front of the hair, like on top of hair. Absolutely, go for it. That's one of the fun things about cartoons, is that you get to play around with these things. So I have my eyes on this one. I think my eyes on this guy, based on just my facial lines, he looks kind of like done. So he's going to have some eyes with very heavy lids, because he's just kind of done with things. And I'm going to shape up the lids on this side. I think I'm going to make him a girl. So I'm going to put a couple of little eyelashes sticking out the sides. I'm going to still add irises. I'm going to still add irises. And I'm just going to shade the whole thing in. I'm not going to put pupils and muscle striations. I'm just going to simplify that a little bit. Because she's kind of done with things, she just has some high up, thin eyebrows. She's not angry. She's just done. So I'm going to put those eyebrows kind of up. Not going to worry about too much of a hair look to them because they're so thin. Eyes on that one. Now on my doggy, I want him to be a true cartoon. So he's going to have some big, big eyes. And they're going to actually overlap each other. Because, again, cartoons are not something that have to follow logical face rules. In the real world, eyes do not overlap each other at all. But we're drawing cartoons, so we can do that. I'm going to do a nice traditional kind of cartoon eye that the pupils and irises really don't line up with each other. Because we can do that with cartoons. Cookie Monster has eyes like that. And I'm going to put some little details inside of those. And some teeny little floaty eyebrows. My dog has some little eyebrow colors that kind of do like this. So I'm going to put those up there. On my next set, I have 3 more faces. And I would do another 3 sets of eyes. Let's see. This is a square kind of guy. So how about some square eyes? Nice and big. I'm going to set up a lid at the top of those eyes. And his irises and pupils are going to be kind of down here. He's looking down a little bit. He can do that. Eyebrows. He's a little concerned about what he sees. So his eyebrows are going to just kind of come together a little bit. Now, one thing that cartoonists do to help themselves out is most cartoonists will have a mirror set up right on the side of them. And that mirror is not to draw exactly what they see, but a lot of times to make faces in. They will look at their own eyes and create all kinds of goofy expressions and to see what happens to their face when they make different expressions, like wide open eyes or squinty eyes or concerned eyes, and they'll use their own faces as a reference. So if you're stuck on eyes to do or expressions to do, maybe you could have a mirror and look at it while you're working to give yourself some ideas. So in this little guy, I gave him some cartoony oval eyes. That'll work. And on my donut guy, what kind of eyes am I going to make for him? I think he's going to have some very rounded eyes. Now in this eye that's facing away from us, because he is a 3/4 face, it shouldn't be a circle. It should be a little bit more of an ellipse. Still the same height though, because all those rules about cartooning still kind of apply. Still erasing face lines as I go. Drawing lightly so that those face lines all erase cleanly. And I think I'm just going to create his eyes as just dots. He's going to have a little bit of eyelids because that's kind of fun. And how about some big chunky eyebrows? I didn't draw any big chunky eyebrows on any of the rest of them. Now, all of these things that I just drew are not necessarily simple, but they do have a variety. And that's one thing that I'm looking for whenever I look at these cartoons that you're going to draw. I want to see if there is some variety in your features, in your shapes, and in your drawings. If they look exactly like mine, that grade goes down. If they all look exactly the same on your own, grade goes down. So you want to make sure that you do have variety. I also do not want you to copy other cartoons that already exist. If you copy other cartoons that already exist, I am not counting it. So Doesn't pay to do it because it's not going to do any good for you. All right, so this guy, he's in full face. He's going to have a long, kind of bulbous nose with nostril and a curvy lobe sticking out. And then I'm going to clean up those lines a little bit. I can erase these slightly. And I like that these kind of fade away at the top. That'll work for him. Let's see. I don't know, let's see what kind of nose she's going to have. I'm thinking like a Sesame Street nose. That is just kind of a nose that sticks out from the face. Like an oval. Who has noses like that? Grover has a nose like that. Does Elmo have a nose like that? I think he does. Now I'm still using my center line. That's why I positioned the nose there. Without the face lines, it would be hard to get this 3/4 turn view. For my doggy, he's going to have a nose that sticks out from his face with kind of a nostril opened up because he's sniffing things. And I'm going to erase the part of the face that the nose overlaps. Alright. On this guy, I think I'm going to give him a standard human nose. And he's in slightly 3/4 face. So I'm going to start at the eyebrow. I'm going to curve my way down. He's kind of at that full face view. So little tiny nostril on this side, bigger on this side, with a little curve at the top because his nose is little and cute. So he has just a little human-ish nose, but different because of the difference of the shape of the face. This guy, I'm going to give him a nice big kind of teardrop shaped nose that actually hangs down a little bit. I imagine his nose would be kind of fuzzy. Do I know why? No, I just think that it does. So I'm going to actually use a sketchy line for the sides of his nose, for that line, to make his nose look fuzzy. You can do that. You can play around with textures. You can play around with ideas. I think that this guy is going to have kind of a SpongeBob nose. It's going to kind of come out from his face and just connect back to that center line. SpongeBob's nose kind of does that. Long, skinny nose that sticks out from the face. And again, where it would overlap, I'm going to erase the lines that go through. I think that I'm going to also put him just a little nostril in there. Little fishhook nostril. That'll work. So now I did face shapes, I did measuring lines, I did eyes, I did noses. Next is on to the mouth, because we're following the same steps that we did for our previous ones. I think I'm going to give him just a standard human mouth, maybe with just a little bit more of an exaggeration on things. His mouth's going to be open a little bit. So I'm actually going to open that mouth up. And I'm going to draw him some teeth because he's going to be smiling. Now, cartoon teeth can actually include the lines all the way through. Or they can do like true human teeth, that you're just drawing some of the little indications where the ends of the teeth are and where perhaps the gum line is. I'm going to put him some little creases on the side of his face right here to give him a little bit more of that smile. Based on her expression, she's not smiling. She is a very straight, again, kind of concerned look to her. So I think I'm just going to extend out this. I'm going to put her a little bit of detail. Her corners are going to turn down slightly, but very thin mouth, very disapproving, very just done with things. this cartoon has seen 2020 and is not happy about the whole thing. Not happy about COVID. Not happy about virtual. Not happy about all the hurricanes. Nope, she's just not happy. This doggy, on the other hand, is goofy, like my dog, kind of silly, so he's very happy. But his mouth actually goes out from his face, so I can actually add to my face shape down here. And of course, because he's a doggy, his tongue's going to hang out. Whee! Again, draw more lightly than I am. I'm having trouble erasing some of my lines because I'm drawing a little darkly. And especially when you're planning on adjusting things, because you don't know exactly what it's going to look like when you start, you should draw it very lightly. But I do need to draw a little bit darkly so the camera picks it up. Big, goofy, happy doggy mouth. There we go. For this guy, he's kind of shocked. I think I'm going to give him a little bit of an oval mouth. You're going to see his teeth a little at the top and a little bit of a tongue down at the bottom. Because he's just kind of, what's going on here? And I'm just going to shade the inside of that a little bit to give him his slightly shocked and perturbed and angry side. I think this guy, because of how big his face is, I think he needs a big smiley mouth. He knows that even though 2020 has been rough, that there's still a lot of good things in it. Like when South Lafourche High School Art Department won the Vans competition. That happened during COVID. That happened when we were on lockdown at the end of the last year. Like all the people who've caught COVID but recovered without any problems. He knows that no matter how bad things get, there's always still good in the world. So he has a big, cheesy grin. He's happy. No matter what. Be like him. Now our little donut guy. I don't know. He looks like he smelled something bad with that little nostril thing going on that I put in there. So maybe he can have a little bit of a crooked, kind of disgusted turn to his mouth. He's just not happy with what's going on. He's That's what makes that little nostril go up right here. That face is kind of coming up right there. And I'm just going to draw the opening of the mouth. I'm not going to draw top lip, bottom lip, any of that stuff. I'm just going to draw where his lips would meet. And slightly off center from the center line, so slightly crooked, helping to give him that kind of disgusted look a little bit better. Now, once I have my features, I can clean up a little bit. Make sure that all of my face lines are erased. Make sure that any overlaps are cleaned up. But just like on our made-up faces, this is not quite finished. I have a feather duster to get rid of my eraser poop. I still need to indicate perhaps a little bit of a neck or shoulders. Need to figure out if these characters have ears. For sure my doggy does. And if they have hair. All of these things are step by step what we had done for our made-up faces. So we're going to do them for cartooning too. Again, the best cartoons are not super simple. The best cartoons have details. Some of them have a lot of details. Some of them are super realistic. But if you make them too simple, they look like emojis. They look like smiley faces. And they don't have enough information to help them to be good cartoon characters. So, let's see with him. I think I'm going to give him a little bit of a chin sticking out down here at the bottom. And my face line kind of stayed there, so it gave him a little bit of a dimple on his chin. So I'm going to just add that to give him that little dimple on his chin. Again, the more detail, the better. He looks like, because he has such a big, long face, you would think that you'd want to give him big, long ears. I know it's a nose line, right? But I think then he's going to have some little tiny cute ears just sticking out the side of his face. So he's human-ish, but he's not all the way human. So in her, she's a 3/4 face. I don't necessarily want to change her face shape a little bit, but I am going to give her that little cheek indication of a 3/4 face, that it goes a little in by the eye, a little out from the cheek. Her ear's not going to show on this side, but she is going to have an ear on this side. And I'm just going to draw kind of a standard human ear sticking out on that side. There we go. Puppy dog, of course, though, needs puppy dog ears. And because I drew him kind of close to her, I'm going to just let him go behind. And other ear is just going to come down this way and go behind his face on that side. Again, if there's any overlap right here, then I would make sure to do that. So he has some big floppy puppy dog ears. If I want them to be fuzzy puppy dog ears, well, then I would go with that sketchy line around the edges to make them look like they were made from fur. For the doggy, it's kind of ears and hair at the same time. Still hair rules, though. I'm not filling it all in. Just giving a little slight indication of what they would look like. On this guy, it's square face, square eyes. We can keep that going with just kind of a square ear. I think you would see it a little bit sticking out on this side. And if you've ever watched a cartoon of Hercules, you kind of have like little cinnamon bun things happening inside their ears. Little curls. I'm going to give that to him. Let's see, what kind of ears is this guy going to have? How about instead of ears, he has little fuzzy horns. I just watched Maleficent, so got the horns thing going on. But he's a friendly guy, so he's going to have fuzzy horns. He's not going to have big, scary, gnarly horns. It works. I like him. And my donut guy. I don't think I'm going to give him an ear. I think he's going to stay earless. Because in birds, they have a little hole in the side of their head, and that's their ear. So maybe the hole in his head is his ear. Perhaps. Alright, next would be necks. Or a little bit of a indication of a shirt, perhaps. I'm going to give this guy just a little collar and some shoulders. Not a neck. I don't want it to be long and skinny or anything like that. That tends to look strange. She is going to be overlapping this doggy's ear a little bit. She's going to have just a little t-shirt collar. Little indication of her shoulders. Perhaps she has a picture on her shirt. Sure. The doggy, he has a collar on. Because he's a goofy little dog. And he probably runs away. So he probably needs a collar with a tag that actually tells what his name is and where to go get him. because he likes to run away a little bit. And his name is... I think it's Couillon, because he's goofy. Couillon in Cajun. Couillon, which is probably not how it's spelled. Couillon means silly. So if anyone's ever called you that, that's what they were talking about. So we got necks going on. That'll work. Let's see on this guy. I think he's going to actually have a little bit of a neck. Skinny neck. There's no way in real life that this neck would hold up that head. And he has some very squared off shoulders. Because everything about him is square. He's kind of like Roly-Poly Oly's friend. You know, I don't know if y'all know who Roly-Poly Oly is. That's kind of far in the past. But if you do. Let's see. He is going to have some big, hairy shoulders. He's kind of turning into a monster a little bit. But he's a friendly monster. So he has some big, hairy shoulders. And our donut guy, you know what? I think I'm just going to give him feet. I don't think he's going to have a body. I think his donut is his body. So he's just going to have some little feet. He may need some little arms running around too. He looks concerned. So maybe his little arm and hand is holding his face like, oh my gosh. I'm not sure what happened to him. Oh, I do know what happened to him. Somebody took a bite out of him. Because he's a donut. That explains his face. He is concerned. He doesn't know why somebody took a bite out of him. But somebody did. So, he's kind of, nope. He's not happy about the whole thing. So his little arms are holding his face in consternation. Okay, that works. Now, let's see. Some of them might need hair. Some of them might not. It depends, of course, on your character. I think this little guy, he's going to have some little tufts of hair over his ears because he's kind of balding. And again, following hair rules. Direction it goes, just the ends. Don't go too far in. I think she is going to have some very straight, tucked behind the ear hair. Long, too. So I got my part. Oh, that's going to cover Puppy Dog's complete ear. That's okay. And her hair just kind of falls down around her. Now, because I drew the hair so long, I probably should draw a body. But you are not required to draw a body for these characters. Hands in pockets. Easy way to get away with not drawing hands. Her hair is so long it reaches almost all the way to her feet. Some little tiny feet. Little tiny cartoon feet. Now she looks more sad than done with the world. But sometimes that's what happens. Body language makes a huge difference in cartooning. Because they're not real. So they need to show their emotions through body language. Our little puppy doesn't need hair. Because he already has fuzzy ears. That kind of is his hair. Let's see. I think our little square dude might need some hair. Let me finish up her first, though. Oh, yeah. I like her. Let's see. Our little square dude. Any of you ever watched Hey Arnold? He just kind of has a little hat. And from that hat, he has like little poufons of hair sticking out. I don't think that makes sense for this character. But, hey, why not? That's what cartoon characters are all about. Trying different things and seeing what is funny. Which one tells a story to you? Which one actually seems like a real character that has real things going on? What kind of hair maybe for him? He could have... I don't want to draw hair up here because then his horns kind of get in the way. And if he has hair just coming down the sides, it kind of messes up the shape of his face. So I think I'm going to leave him hairless. Unless he has like maybe just two little hairs sticking out the top. That's fine. And our donut guy, he actually has icing and sprinkles. Because he turned into a real donut guy. Now, as a character like that, should his icing and sprinkles just been on the top right here? Because he's a vertical character? Who knows? I just gave him standard sprinkles. Now, what I have is 6 developed, detailed, original cartoon characters. Your goal is to do 10. Follow the same steps that we have been for faces. Remember, your steps are to first do your head shapes. Remember, these could be human, alien, monster, animal, any kind of cartoon head shapes you're thinking about. Then you're going to do your face lines, which include center lines, eye lines, nose lines, mouth lines. Then you're going to do your features, your main features, which are eyes, noses, and mouths. After your features, then you're going to go in with the extras, like ears, cheeks, chins, shoulders, necks. And then you're going to decide if your character needs hair, and make sure to follow hair rules. You are going to do 10 original characters. All on one page of your sketchbook, which should be 11 by 14. Now, if for some reason you don't have your sketchbook and you're working at home and you need to work on smaller paper, you can do 5 and 5 and then still take a picture of them all. Each character is about 3 inches, not too much bigger or smaller, and each character should be detailed, not overly simplified.